All right, class. So today we're going to talk about the Blitzkrieg method that was used by the Germans in World War II. The Blitzkrieg was their battle strategy. In German, it means lightning war. So this was Hitler's plan and the German plan to ultimately defeat trench warfare. So uh, while the enemies are digging trenches, laying out barbed wire, doing a lot of similar things that they did in World War I to be successful, Hitler used his engineers to try and devise tanks that could go through those obstacles. Also, at the same time, he's building up a massive Luftwaffe, his air force, and they're dropping bombs behind enemy lines. They're attacking one point quickly, rapidly. These tanks are moving fast, 40, 50 miles per hour, trying to attack one specific point of the line, break through, and then just cause chaos with the enemy. It's extraordinarily effective. No one else is doing anything like this, and the rest of the world has to catch up to Hitler's strategy here. So the first 3 years of the war, this was completely unstoppable. When the Germans invaded, they just rolled through countries and devastated them. Their tanks were superior to the Allied tanks as well. It really took until the end of the war for the Americans and the Soviets to devise tanks that were, equal to the ones that Germany had at the beginning of the war. So Blitzkrieg method, extraordinarily effective. Great Britain and France declare war. So they invade Poland. Remember, the Germans invade Poland September 1st. 2 days later, Britain and France both declare war. They don't end up really defending Poland. They don't send troops or anything. But so Poland falls in a matter of 3.5, 4 weeks. And France and Britain don't really do anything when they declare war. They start preparing for war more than they were before. So France attacks Germany, quickly gives up on any sort of offensive assault. Great Britain never launches an attack against the Germans, and this is a huge mistake. They might not have been ready, but the Germans were not properly equipped to defend themselves at this point. So by waiting, they let Hitler move across the continent, because remember, a lot of his troops were stationed over in Poland, move across the continent, also take additional territory at that time. So they were basically waiting for Hitler to attack them, and then they would react to that. They were planning on fighting World War I over again. They wanted to dig trenches, wait for the enemy to attack, make it impossible for them to gain land, and live through World War I all over again. That's the British and French strategy to start off the war, and it ends up being a terrible strategy. So the world draws up sides. The world's at war with one another now. Germany is expanding its borders, and Britain and France declare war. So the world starts finding allies with each other. Okay? The Axis powers, those are our enemies. The Axis powers originally are Hitler and Mussolini, Italy and Germany. They call themselves the Axis power because they believe the world will rotate on the axis of Rome and Berlin, that they will be the center of the universe when they win this war and dominate world politics. And that's in 1935. By 1937, Japan joins this alliance as well, which was a strange country to join in on this alliance, especially with the rhetoric of white superiority. Hitler does not speak highly of any sort of Asian race in Mein Kampf. He thinks that they are not one of the superior races. So they're a strange fit in here, but they are a strong military power being condemned by the likes of the United States and Britain for territorial expansion throughout Asia. And therefore, they turn to somebody that understands territorial expansion and trying to create more influence. And they join forces with the Axis powers. Then you have the Allied powers. At the beginning of the war, it's just France and England. France falls very quickly, which you'll figure out here in a second. Basically, in about a month and a half, they lose to the Germans. So at that point, it's French resistance, underground. And Britain's all alone. Eventually, Hitler will invade the Soviet Union, and they will join the Allied powers. And for the first the first 2 years of the war, the U.S. is neutral. Okay, the United States does not get involved, but Roosevelt does pledge materials and ammunition to Churchill, which is called the Lend-Lease Act, where we will lend or lease weapons, ammunition, items like that to our ally, Great Britain. In exchange, they will pay us back after the war. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit more later as well. So the Sitzkrieg, or the Phony War, so they declare war in September. There's still no battles by the following April. All right, so we're talking about several months have passed here, and Britain and France are still waiting to see what happens. So April 9th, Hitler unleashes an air and sea assault against Denmark and Norway to expand more territory. Since he's not being attacked by the British and the French, he feels like he can expand more territory and gain more resources in Denmark and Norway. German tanks and dive bombers attack the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. Stalin begins annexing territories of Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania, as well as Finland, to expand Soviet power. So the lack of involvement from Britain and France just allows, once again, just like with appeasement, it allows Hitler to expand, take more men, more resources, more factories, and ultimately ends up dragging the war on as Britain and France just wait for something to happen against them. So they're not being aggressive whatsoever. That's why it's called Sitzkrieg, or Phony War. Then we got to talk about the fall of France. Okay, May 10th, 1940, Germany deploys 3 million men into 3 groups to attack the French. They have Group A going through the Ardennes forest. Okay, so if you remember a little bit from World War I, we talked about the Ardennes as well. This is a really, really thick forest in northern France and Luxembourg and places like that. You can see it right here that the French and British did not have defenses in this forest because they thought there's no way the Germans will move through there because they can't move tanks through there. They can't move their heavy artillery through there. It was just an impractical natural barrier for them to be able to attack. Well, Hitler and his allies do send troops through the forest. B are the Low Countries. The Low Countries are going to be Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. So he sends another group north, and then C, he wants to flank the Maginot Line. What's the Maginot Line? That's the system of fortifications along the French and German border that the French are building, where a lot of the fighting took place during World War I. So they're building that same line to try and prevent the Germans to break through, and they go south of that line. So they're attacking through the forests that are unmanned. They're attacking through these other countries, okay, and invading there. And then they're going south and surrounding the enemy. So, I mean, they're trying to outmaneuver and move quickly and outman, quite frankly. 3 million men is a massive military. That's more people than we have in our military today. So this is a huge military invading France. And the French and British allies are totally caught off guard. They have no idea what is about to hit them. So they quickly fall in a matter of weeks. So May 10th is the invasion. May 26th, only 9 days later, at Dunkirk, this city on the northern coast of France, is completely surrounded by Nazi troops. You can see here on this map, you have Nazis here, completely surrounding British and French forces are there as well. And they could have absolutely crushed them. They could have taken 330,000 men prisoner or killed them. They could have completely eliminated them. Instead, Hitler orders a stop on his assault, and 330,000 men are ferried across the English Channel to safety. 900 boats are used, many civilian boats. Fishermen are ferrying these people back and forth. They lose all their heavy machinery back in France, but these men are able to fight later in the war. And that's all for today. Thank you.